Hello, welcome to my new channel, Jank the Gathering, and I am Graphix, your Jank Master General, and I'm here today with my very first video. Just kind of want to introduce what the channel's about, introduce myself, and, show you one of the decks, probably my first standard actual build that I enjoy doing. I started playing Magic the Gathering probably, I don't know, 10, 11 years ago. I started back in the Alara block. I started back in Conflux. So Ikoria is probably the closest thing to a welcome home as I'll ever get. And the combo, or the deck that I use right now, is a Orzhov Cat Oven with Lurrus of the Dream Den as my companion. And I'm really horrible about pronouncing names, so I guess it's Lurrus. I'm going to call it Big Kitty. That's what I always call them when I play them and summon them. And I just kind of want to go over the deck really quick and then while I go and play, I'll kind of tell you about what the channel's about and my rules for how I build these decks. But this deck runs around this Big Kitty, which gives me the limitation that I can only have permanents in the deck that cost 2 or less, which, with exception of one card, because I could run Heliod, but I don't want to. There is an enchantment that does about the same thing as Cruel Celebrant, but it costs 3 mana to summon or to put on the field, and well, that counts it out. Wasn't sure I liked the companion ability originally, because to me it gives your opponent way too much information. But after I've played it, I actually really enjoy it. But there's Big Kitty, and anyone who's played Magic for any amount of time knows the normal Cat Oven combo, so Cauldron Familiar and Witch's Oven are next. Vicious Rumors, which if you run black mana and if you don't consider using this card, you're insane. In my opinion, this does way too much to be a common. I'm amazed it's still allowed in Pauper because, yeah, dealing damage, gaining life, your opponent mills and then discards. I love it. This is a beautiful card to play turn 1, especially if your opponent has to mulligan at all. Then, for my just standard Orzhov damage, you have Cruel Celebrant, and when you're sacrificing Cauldron Familiar as much as I will, it deals a lot of damage and gains you a lot of life. Corpse Knight, I kind of wish it had the life gain ability that Cruel Celebrant did, but every time Cauldron Familiar enters the battlefield with a Corpse Knight on the field, for each Corpse Knight, your opponent takes 1 more damage. Comes in handy. Sack engines, you have Priest of the Forgotten Gods. That's a lot of value for 2 creatures, especially even if you have a Cruel Celebrant on the field, you're going to deal additional damage. You're going to deal 2 more points of damage, and this is just 1 Cruel Celebrant. With Priest of the Forgotten Gods and a Cruel Celebrant, if you sacrifice 2 creatures, you're going to be dealing 2 additional damage, gaining 2 additional life. It's some good value for that. Plus, you get to draw a card, and you get 2 black mana. And as you can see in this build, 2 black mana can do a lot. The other one, and I've just reduced it down, Lampad of Death's Vigil. I'm not terribly fond of it, but it does do a good sack engine, and because I can't use Woe Strider, this is the next best thing. In fact, this is my best of 1 version. I have a match version, and it does have Woe Strider in the sideboard, where Big Kitty becomes a card in the deck and not a companion. But then, for protection, not really protection, for destruction, you have Mortify. Pretty straightforward, destroy target creature or enchantment. While this will not deal with any of the gods, the Theros gods, it will handle a lot of other stuff. You have Corpse Churn, we're dealing destruction right now. Mire's Grasp, while yes, it only works once, auras do have that weakness of, you put it on a creature, you want it to die, it's basically a 2-cost kill spell for anything 3 or under, but because it is a permanent and it is under 3 mana, well, it has to be, actually it's under 2 mana, which it has to be have Big Kitty in it, you can just keep recurring that as long as the cat is on the field. Kai's Wrath, beautiful card, especially in this deck, because if you wipe the field clean and you have Cruel Celebrants on the field, you're going to deal damage alongside. It does get insane. For some recursion, because you only have 1 kitty and you don't want to lose him, let's start with Corpse Churn. This works remarkably well with the cat. In fact, I'm shocked his picture's not on it, because not only will you get the cat back to your hand, you also get more creatures in the graveyard that you can then resummon it. Especially if you have extra food on the field and you end up milling out a Cauldron Familiar. Or if you don't have any creatures, you can kind of do that as a big risk. I've done it before. There's a saying, no risk. There's the saying, no risk, no reward, does come into play in this game. Call of the Death Dweller. Again, because everything in this deck is every creature in this deck is 2 mana, and your companion is 3. This brings back at least 1 creature. And if you're not targeting Big Kitty, you can generally bring back 2 creatures if you target one of your normal ones and Cauldron Familiar. Works great. Then you have Revival and Revenge. Chances are you will almost never use Revenge. I've used it. It is hysterical. I've actually, generally if I use Revenge, I usually have my opponent quit. Revival is the key one. It will instantly bring back Big Kitty. Or again, if you need it as a kill switch, Cruel Celebrant is my other favorite target. Priest of the Forgotten Gods would be my 3rd target. Now, I skipped 1 card, and it is this beauty right here. Soul Guide Lantern. I put it in here because in most of my matches I'm dealing with Jeskai cycling, Boros cycling, and Urudex. This messes with them because all of a sudden they have no graveyard and they have nothing to feed off of. It just 1 in here as a precaution never hurts. My normal version, the one that actually has a sideboard, has cards like Leyline of Sanctity, because we all need something to protect ourselves. It has some god killers, but as I said, I don't generally worry too much about dealing with planeswalkers and gods. This deck can clean off the field fast enough to attack and kill them. Teferi doesn't even bother me that bad. And because there's no real draw engines, your planeswalkers like Narset isn't that big a deal. Both Narsets, the one from War of the Spark and the one from Ikoria. The one from Ikoria, if it destroys one of your creatures, oh well, bring it right back. Period. And then Thassa and Heliod are the only 2 gods I've ever really dealt with in here, and Thassa's annoying. Heliod doesn't bother me at all because I can keep a lifelink field cleaned in no problem. As for the land base, I run Godless Shrine, 9 swamp, 7 plains. That is the appropriate breakdown to the proportion that I need for all this. Because I'm only running the of my creatures, the CMC cost is 2. I don't run much land. 20 land is perfect for this. Not the lowest I've ever run, but it's generally, I on average run 20 land. I just don't, I've never had a problem with it, so that's how I run it. I could, if I really, really wanted to, if I really, really wanted to, I could go ahead and run Scoured Barrens and Orzhov Guildgate, but in all honesty, they enter the battlefield tapped, and that has caused me more nightmares than it has help. So, here we go. I'm going to say I'm done with that deck. And as you can see, anyone that has the Orzhov and this and the Mardu. That is incarnations of this deck. It actually originally started using Luminous Moth or Mothra, and I just kept removing fluff and speeding it up, and there it is. This is my most recent version. So we're going to take this into just regular play. I enjoy doing standard ranked, but tonight I'm doing an introduction, so I don't want it to take like 20 minutes. I kind of want a quick little 10-minute game where I can talk while I do this. So here we go. Starting off as normal. And by the way, if you happen to be the one I played against, or if you see me on here, go to one of my videos, say hi, let me know. If you want to replay against me, let me know that too. I'll happily take challengers. So here we go. I'm gonna mulligan simply because I'm missing like very key parts of this. Actually, because it's for laughs, I'm just gonna keep it. This isn't ranked, so it won't kill me. We're gonna go ahead and start with my Godless Shrine, and we're gonna let it come to play tapped. So this is my channel. It is called Jank the Gathering, and as I said, my name is Graphix. This channel, I wanted to make it because I spend a lot of time. Oh God, I'm dealing with a Mire deck. How did I not notice that? But I enjoy making just the random crazy decks that people go, how does this work? How did I lose to it? I like looking up combos that just are really weird. And I decided, hey, since I'm making all these decks, I thought I'd share them with y'all. It gives me practice. It gives y'all stuff to play with. And hey, gives more decks in this world that aren't just the normal Jeskai decks is good anyway. So deck builds will be mostly modern format. That is where I enjoy playing. I do have an Orzhov life gain deck that will probably use Luminous Moth, so it'll be in Pioneer. I rarely ever play Pioneer. Aw, I lost Corpse Knight. Oh well. So we're going to play my Swamp. Let's put Cruel Celebrant on the field because that way I can block and I don't kill this thing. If I can get a land next turn, I'm probably going to... I don't know, I might end up just mortifying this thing because I want it off the battlefield so badly. Okay. Alright. Library for card. Okay. But getting back to where I was at, I'm going to be focusing on modern. You'll probably see me go into legacy if I feel like it. That's very rare because I almost never ever play in legacy. Let's see, I'm going to put Cruel Celebrant on the field and no attacks because there's nothing they have on the field that's going to hurt me. And besides modern, I'll also be doing EDH. I enjoy it. And for laughs, I'll probably end up using... I might even end up doing some stuff because, I've always enjoyed the sets. But my general will be modern, and might do some standard. If they keep sending up things like Ikoria, I will totally and completely do that. Let's see, it is my turn. So we're going to fire off Priest of the Forgotten Gods. And this is going to hurt. And I don't think he knows what to do. He's tapped out. Okay, who are you going to sacrifice? Okay. Let's see here. No. Could do the kitty. I think what I'm going to do... Corpse Churn? And I'm going to grab my Corpse Knight. Revenge. Yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna grab the 2 Corpse Knights because next turn I'm gonna start with Big Kitty and Corpse Knight. And damage. So, as I was going, but I have found some modern decks I like, or some standard decks, and since Arena is standard only, I will probably start doing some of those too, because I'm weird. I do have a few rules for my builds. One, I avoid fetch lands. Unless it explicitly says you need a fetch land, I think they're quite literally the most pointless. I think they're really pointless. I actually prefer... Okay, hold on just a second. I know I say that every time, but I'm going to bring Kitty out. And... yeah, I'm going to go ahead and Vicious Rumor this guy. There we go. Oh, he does have a little flavor in here. Okay. I'm not going to attack. You don't really need to attack in this deck. And in all honesty, if he attacks me right now, who the hell cares? But, rules. No fetch lands. As I said, despise them. I think they're completely pointless. They're beautiful. They work. Death Shadow decks, they work flawlessly. But, to me, just... yeah, they're way too hyped. Try to keep super expensive cards to a minimum. I know some of the weirdos. I have an Orzhov Soul Sisters deck that I'll end up running Bitter Blossom. That's a $30 card, but everything else in that deck costs nothing. Shocklands cost money, and I adore Shocklands. We're going to pass to attackers. My turn. Okay, we're going to bring that Cruel Celebrant in. Gonna grab that. I'm gonna grab that Cruel Celebrant. Okay. Combat, as I said, I don't need to attack, so who cares? In my turn. Let's see. Sorry, I'm reading up and looking at the field at the same time. And I'll do my best to keep the cost below $500. I know the biggest complaint about Modern I always hear is, oh, it's too expensive. I don't believe so. I've built decks like my Boros Bar Fight deck, only costs a couple $100, and most of it's in the mana base, but it's a heck of a lot cheaper than fetch lands. Okay. Again, sorry I'm being quiet. My turn. I love that we're just waiting each other out. I'm going to pay the 2 life. Play this. Okay. I'm going to hurry up and finish this because this game is almost over. Keep the deck below $500. But we'll certainly keep it. But most of the ones I work with end up being less than probably $300. Of course, the more expensive insane cards you're going to be using will consistently create the more insane costs that you'll get. He totally misplayed. If he sacks that Witch's Oven, he would have won. Or he would have survived. But, moving on, I'm just going to sit here on the victory screen because... holy crap, that was fun. Well, let me get off of this because I don't want that background music. We'll just stay on this pretty screen. Yay. But most of my decks should stay below 3. I have a few that are 2, and at the same time, I have one that's $600 or $700. It is again, I don't use net decks. I don't use top tier decks as my I'll go top tier decks. I'm going to switch this card out, but I do use the Tron engine if I feel like I need it. It's one of the ones that I survive off. I make one around Morphon the Boundless and Blightsteel Colossus. It requires the Tron engine, but it's a lot cheaper because you're not running 4 copies of you're not running Karn, or Ugin the Spirit Dragon, and any of the big Eldrazi. But on the flip side of that, I also have a Tron build that revolves around Pathrazer of Ulamog, which gets really stupid if you can trigger off that final ability, and I can. Other expensive cards I've used, sometimes you'll see Doubling Season, but I try very, very hard to avoid it because it's about a $50 to $60 card. The last time I checked, I could be wrong. Things go up weird, especially in a counter-heavy set like Ikoria. That card probably could have doubled or tripled in price for all I know. I will try to post all of my decks and deck lists to Tapped Out and try to keep it as competitive as I can. I mean, will these decks go to a major tournament? Will you go to a regional or a championship and win the whole thing? Probably not. Weirder things have happened in this game. If you really want a good little history lesson, go look up the winner of Pro Tour Columbus 1996, his red-green aggro deck. That deck should not have won, but it fit the meta of that day, and he got lucky. Want to make the decks more fun, and one that you won't see a million of, and in all honesty, that might be your turning point. One of my favorite wins was using, in draft, I used Ginger Brute, which is probably my favorite card from Throne of Eldraine. It was Ginger Brute. I powered him up with everything I could imagine. He was pacified probably the second turn that he was put in there, and I just kept loading stuff up on him and ended up getting him to like 15-15, still pacified, or still unable to do anything. And my opponent thought I was going to destroy he thought for some odd reason I was going to destroy the enchantment, and instead I got him down to 14 life, and I used Fling. And his words were, "Who uses that card?" And my answer was, me. No one expected it, so it worked. And while I will look up some of the top tier decks because they're good for a reason. But that's only for the parts. Tron lands. How does that work? How do you run the Tron abilities? How do you run the Tron decks? What can I learn from that without grabbing the expensive cards? What about Fires of Invention? I have a deck that revolves around fires, and I just have to make sure that this is how the Jeskai Fires uses it. I'm going to take out everything that makes it the Jeskai Fires deck, but how do you ramp up a land in a deck that has no green? If the tools are there, I'm going to use them. Just trying to find a cheaper way to do it and accomplish the goal of winning. These are designed, again, to be fun. Hopefully you won't end up winless at a tournament, and I'm pretty sure you won't. My baby is my Boros Bar Fight, which will be the very first deck that I will cover on this channel. It has won several times, especially in this, in its previous iteration. That was the word I was looking for. In my previous iteration, it won a couple of times. I've since learned that double strike and trample are a lot more powerful than circumstantial unblockable, so we'll go with that. And depending on your store's local meta, you might find a deck that goes, hey, this would beat this guy who's won every weekend. Let's try this. Never know. And also on the flip side, these decks match my playstyle. Unless one of you has an idea of a combo that uses a control, you're probably not going to see control decks on here. You're going to see aggro, mid-range, and all those are going to be combo decks. That's kind of what, in my opinion, is the essence of Jank, is just combo, see what happens, and hopefully wins. And if And also, I've been playing for probably 10, 11 years. I started in Alara. That's why I love, again, Ikoria is probably my favorite set that they've released in a while. It matches my style, and I'm not what I would consider an expert player, but I have fun. I have experience building decks, and I've experience playing them. I'm getting better. I'm learning how to get rid of all the fluff and frills to make it more focused. But everyone listening to this will probably have better ideas than me. So if you do, tell me. I'll use them. I'll even alter the deck, and hey, maybe revisit videos and say, hey, this is what I did wrong. But if you take this deck, use it at a tournament, and you do good, let me know. The other things I'll be doing will be box openings, live streaming some Arena, especially as long as this quarantine is going on. I will eventually have a camera up as soon as my hair does not look like, like a quarantine hairdo. Right now, I definitely have a face for radio. Probably the first video I will do on this channel for you seeing me will be Ikoria collector's packs. I got my hands on some. They'll be here on the release day, so we'll get onto that. It'll probably be 3 complete boxes if I can go for it. And I might do stuff other than Magic the Gathering. Never know. Just depends. I am very random by nature. I hope you enjoyed this. Hitting about the 30-minute mark, I think. So hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, if you enjoyed the content and or just want to join my Jank army, like this video, comment if you have anything to say, subscribe to keep up with anything I'm releasing. My goal is to do at least 1 deck tech a week. At least that's the goal, but me getting into it might take a little while to get into that kind of swing. But this has been Graphix, your Jank Master General, and thank you for watching.